Welcome to the Not Superheroes Just Dads podcast. No, we can't fly. No, we can't shoot lasers or pick up giant buildings. But what we can do is help set the foundation for our families, be present for our kids, and combat generational cycles. On this podcast, we dive into everything dad related, from the struggles we deal with as fathers to what our favorite thing to barbecue is. Hello, I'm Sean Laurie. Hope you guys are doing well today, having a blessed Tuesday. But with that being said, before we dive into it, guys, right, make sure you like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. As you guys know, just celebrated right the 100th episode, and so now we at 101. And so, what better off to kick it off with someone I've been reaching out with. So I'm excited to have him on. Jacob, how are you today, my guy?
I'm blessed, brother. I'm really blessed, and I can't complain. And congratulations, for the 100th episode. And I'm honored, to be a part of your show, man. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. So I wanted to ask you, because I always like to do icebreakers.
Yeah.
So my icebreaker to you is, what was your first thought when you found out you was having your oldest?
Oof. Um, Take me back 15 years ago. So my first thought was, I don't want to be like my dad.
Mm,
Yeah, I had my biological dad was very absent.
okay.
Wasn't really consistent in my life. Um, and I spent majority of my life kind of trying to be in his life, But when I found out I wasn't gonna be a dad, I didn't want to. My first thought was, I don't want to be like him.
Mm,
Yeah,
I like that,
yeah,
man. And you have exceeded that, man. You've been, from what I've seen, you've been amazing, man. And so shout out to you for sure, bro. Um,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. You have six kids, right?
Six, yes, three girls and three beautiful girls and three handsome boys, man.
That's
I'm blessed
yeah,
tremendously.
yeah. And you broke even like me, so that's a great thing. That's a great thing. So with that being said, y'all, we're gonna talk about, obviously for most of us, well, my kids actually already started, y'all, but most of us, I think our kids are about to start, or maybe started just like mine. Well, one thing, I guess maybe I'm venting, but since we moved, it was such a pain to register. I don't know if you got to deal with this, bro, especially with six. I don't know if all of them are in school, but bro, I don't understand why they make it so difficult to register these kids, man.
Yeah, it's a process sometimes, especially with six kids. My two youngest are still in daycare.
Okay.
But so the process can be a little tedious, but you just get over it and you do it, and then you gotta do something else again, and then again, you're like, ah. Then
Yeah.
you forgot to sign this form, and gotta fill this form out, and you're like, ah, just go to school.
Just go to school. Come on. We was there last year. Like, what you That's funny. So, with that being said, man, how I guess one, how is your kids feeling that are going to school? How are they feeling? Then, how are you guys feeling? You and your wife. How are you guys? I guess getting ready for that.
We got mixed emotions.
Okay.
I think we got mixed emotions in the sense of, and to be more transparent, is we've been looking to homeschool.
Mm,
Um, so we've been looking to homeschool, I say, the past year and a half, actually looking at the right methods and tools and um, what we need to do on our end. And also as, being home to do it, with the wife, so we're excited for them. They're excited as well. My oldest is a sophomore,
mm,
but she's also in a program where she's dual credits. So when she graduates high school, she'll graduate with her associates from college.
that's dope.
So she's very excited. A lot of potential. Very bright kid. As far as my other ones, I got sophomore, fifth grader, third grade, and kinder. So those are ones that are in school,
Yeah.
and they said, as I mentioned earlier, the two little are in daycare, two youngest are in daycare. But they're excited for the new year of school, and just want to get their friends, but just learn education.
Mm,
They're really getting to the point of being challenged educational and having fun with it, I would say.
yeah.
They all have their individual struggles of what they can do, but for the most part, I do the best, also with the help of the wife, to push them to be better, and to grow. And the biggest thing is just to apply themselves.
Yeah,
So that's what they're looking forward to this year.
that's dope, man. So I want to ask you, with like you said, you guys are thinking about it and doing your research, of course, before you jump into maybe homeschooling, right? Like,
Yes.
now is that something? Because I'm just thinking with my oldest, is that something where you would also do with your oldest, or would you let her finish hers out, and then with the younger ones, you would more so homeschool?
We actually had that conversation as a family.
Oh,
We mentioned it with my oldest. I just, she's already around the corner. She's a sophomore, so we actually encourage her, especially with the program that she's in, just
mm,
finish out. It's more of the younger ones who are looking more to homeschool, get that rolling when we can.
yeah, that's dope, man. So what I guess what inspired you guys to think about going that route?
I mean, COVID, right? The pandemic.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a whole different scenario there. But a little
yeah,
bit after that, I think after that, I went on a whole different journey as a man. I started
mhm,
asking a lot more questions. What were my kids learning? What was I learning? About my kids, and as we were still having kids at the time, me and my wife, we, being married and growing. Biggest thing was spending time with our kids. You start looking at how much time they're spending in school and how many hours they're in school in a week and a day and then a week and a year, and you're like, I don't spend as much time with my kids as I think I do.
mm,
And not to say that we don't spend time with them,
yeah,
after school or whether it's programs or activities or on the weekend, but you start looking at these, for us was like I'm punching in this clock at this job, it's the normal 9 to 5 is right what we do and doing what we have to do as men.
yeah,
But for me, I really felt the responsibility and of giving my wife the ability to be a stay-at-home mom, so she could
mm,
have more time with our kids. And for me, that I took on the sacrifice and willing to take on that sacrifice of how can I, how can we get there so where you can be home with the kids,
mm,
because for me, she deserves that. She
yeah,
asked that of me, and before we've actually made that move again, we're actually doing it. We're trying to do everything not right, but in a sense of right timing. Financially, we're a little more stable, have things more in order, have all the curriculum, and be able to just do a lot more things with the kids.
yeah. I like that, man, because I can relate as far as like you said, as far as time, because one I'm sure you can relate to this as well. One of the greatest feelings is when you get off, you come home and your kids run downstairs or run across the room or living room and oh, dad's home, right, and give you a hug and so thankful, right? Like for me, like even leaving some work wherever, like they don't like when I leave. Like, oh, you coming back? Like, why you? You know, my youngest asks every night before he goes to bed, do you have to go to work? Do you have to? Right? And I'm like, dang, yeah, I do. You know, and so um, I mapped out a plan. You know, 2 to 4 years to hopefully be able to have a little bit more control with certain things so I can be even more available to them. You know what I mean? And be able to do some other things as well in the community and things like that. But so I can relate to that, bro, where it's like, I feel like I'm missing out at times, Um, and at the end of the day, I feel like we I think as people or people that are really trying to better themselves, which I know you are, and study and point our kids to the right direction, right? Like we can give our kids the proper tools they need to succeed, right? And then also, there's certain things that they might leave out in school, right? That you
Hmm.
can actually dive into. Or shoot, if you want to be like, at least for me, right? Like I have Bible study with my kids, right? So it could be
Yeah.
something I can implement that. Like, hey, it's 10 o'clock, y'all. Let's crack this open. Let's talk about this real quick, right? Like just different things I can implement that I know that no one else can.
Uh,
So I can relate to that,
Yeah.
bro.
I think everything that you're saying is where I'm at,
Yeah,
especially with the Word of God,
yeah,
being able to give them give them the gospel, give them the truth, but being able to apply it. I love what you said is, there's some things that school might leave out for them. One of the biggest things that me and my wife talk about is really the character of their hearts. You know, you got a 19-year-old. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna assume that she went through drama and friends, and and
Oh,
we
that
were
doesn't
young. Yeah,
stop, brother.
yeah.
Just because they get older,
You know,
especially with daughters. I love my daughter.
yeah. Um, one of the biggest things with my oldest is I always try striving for her to strive to what's your posture? What's the posture of your heart? And today when we were reading, in Bible study, it was, love one another as Christ has loved you, and
Mm,
always remember that we love because He first loved us, and it's giving them a tool, right?
yeah,
And it's like if I give you all the tools to build a house, you still have to build it. You know what I mean? And so for my kids, that's one of the biggest things that we strive to give them is like, although I may give you all the tools and show you how to do life, you still have to do life. So it's about applying these methods that we give them and just hoping and praying and being the best parents that we can be. And, I know you're working at it. I know the wife is. And all we can do is just be, like I said, the best parents we can be.
yeah. No, and I agree too, because I tell my kids all the time, life is about choices, right? Some things we can't control, but a lot of it is we can control, right? And so, and I've had conversations with many fathers that, they'll push back on me at first, and then we talk, and they're like, oh, okay, because man, my baby mama, this and this. I understand that, but you chose her,
Yeah.
and then they'll get upset. Same thing though for the women. Hey, my baby, but you chose him, right? Like there's a lot of flags, there's a lot of things, and we'll ignore it because we're into our flesh, or because they have this status, or because of that, right? And so at the end of the day, we can choose that. Like you said, like I can give my oldest all the tools in the world. I can pour into her as a man, as a father, make sure that, hey, look out for this. This is what certain dudes might say, or this is what certain dudes might do. But at the end of the day, she has to choose, right?
Yeah.
As much as I love her, as much as it her, because of course, right? As dads, there's no dude that's ever good enough for our daughter, of
No,
course, right?
no.
At all, right? But even when you can try, we could try to put our daughters on game, and again, I don't think that, because I have seen it where there's literally no father present at all, and I have seen those women just go a whole different shebang, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, like we had to, like you said, every child's different. Some of your kids, you could tell them, don't touch the stove at all. They're, okay, Dad. Hey, don't touch the stove. You heard Dad. He said don't touch it. Then you have some of your kids that don't touch the stove. All right, let me just touch it real quick, right? Like, oh, shoot, that burned. Like I told you, yeah. I didn't know if you was lying. Like, why would I lie to you, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. For me, I'm big on life is about choices. What again, even with our life, what type of life do you choose to have, right?
Hmm.
Like, oh well, I hate this job. Okay, well, are you choosing to stay there? Are you choosing to look for something else? Are you choosing to go back to school? Like, what are you doing, right? Like a lot of times we will complain, but then we're choosing, and that's a great thing. Not to make this a whole Bible lecture, y'all, but that's the great thing about, for me as a believer, as y'all know, God gives us a choice, right? So we can choose what we want to do. So I know I just went on a whole spill, bro, but
Nah, you're
but
good. You're good.
but yeah, man. So what you said, I think is key. Like you say, you're helping your oldest, giving her tools, and now it's like, hey, can you apply it? Now the great thing is, even though I said that, right? It's like, hey, they have to decide what they're going to do. The great thing is we're pouring into our kids. So the tools we're giving to them, they're going to know that is there, right? They're not going to be one of these people that's like, I had zero clue. Hey, my dad told me this person wasn't the best person to date, right? At some point it's gonna ring. Dang, dad told me about this, right? Like I remember, I didn't listen at first, but I'm not gonna let this continue because my dad gave me the tools, right?
Hmm.
Like, or I shouldn't be at this party. I went one time, but I didn't really like how that went. Like my dad gave me the tools to make sure I can handle this situation, so that's dope, bro.
Yeah. Like I said, we try our best.
Yeah, man.
I think that's all we can do. One of the conversations we had yesterday, like says, they start, school the next week,
Yeah.
was I asked them a question. What is one thing that you're gonna work on this school year?
Mm.
Like, what's one thing that you find challenging? The school year hasn't started yet, but it's right here around the corner. And they all gave their own individual task of what they needed to focus on for the school year. So automatically, they're going to school, well, yes, to get an education, but they're also going with the mindset of the things that hurt them the year before.
Mm.
And I find strength in it because I see the awareness. And one of the biggest things I had to look to my oldest was, look, I know you're going to be 16, and then you're 2 years away from being, considered adult, but so on and so forth. But before you leave my house, whenever that time is, don't leave without a relationship with
Mm.
me and your mother.
Mm.
I go, because God willing, the day when and if you get married, I want to be able to give you away with peace.
Mm.
And she just kind of like looked at me, and I said, as your father, I just want to say that I love you. And I
Mm.
looked at my other, my second oldest daughter, and was like, I love you.
Mm.
I don't expect you to be perfect because none of you are. And I'm not perfect at all. But, you know, the plan is just to understand, to give them guidance, give them tools, give them structure, and give them love. I know I'm a hard dad, but I'm hard for my reasons. Um, I'm not very lenient to certain things, but there's reasons for it though. And I've explained to my children, I don't. It's not my responsibility to explain to you why I say no. Sometimes my no is just no, and you need to understand it and accept it, even if you don't like it. But I say that with love. I don't say it as I'm the dictator and you follow as I and do as what I say. And I've I express the relationship with my children to understand is that this coming school year, uh, to back up or to what I was going for is saying is that why we were having this conversation. I don't know if you're familiar with the Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Yes.
Okay, so I was watching one of his videos and he was talking about, explain to your children, how you're on their side and, and how to approach conversations. And I used the method and I was like, man, this dude's a genius. I used it. I was like, look, we're gonna have hard conversations this year. But understand I'm here for you. I want the best interest to you. The best interest is for you. And regardless of how you may think something may be, whether how hard it is or how difficult it is or how easy it may be, just understand I'm gonna always want what's best for you. And both me and my wife, we're talking to him, and I was like, but that's what we kept getting. But I just want you to know is that I want the relationship. I don't want relation with you. I want relationship. I want relationship with each one of my children. And as we were talking earlier, they're all different ages. So the relationship I have with my 15-year-old is different from my 10-year-old to the 8-year-old and so on and so forth. So some conversations are more mature and some conversations are a little more, I have to do a lot more listening. I've learned that as a father. I've learned that I can't always, uh, listening to their feelings is very, very, very important. And I wasn't always good at that. And I'm still learning, especially with girls. I'm learning at that, but I know they're gonna, they're in that age of boys and puberty and so on and so forth. I want them to have that. I want you to meet my dad, but with love, with excitement. Like this is the man who's gonna approve or disprove for what is best. Like really have a true care for. I value my father's opinion. I want them to. I hope that they have that the rest of their lives. And that's something that I try to build with my children.
No, I like that, man, and definitely, definitely will. Because when my daughter was dating, because I'm a tough, I'm tough to to bring around, I guess at times. But that was one of her things. She didn't necessarily like at times how I approach things. It was just more so I'm big on energy, and I can just feel when someone is being fake, and I'm
Yeah,
like, just be genuine, like be, so. Anyway, so definitely they're always gonna want your approval, bro. Even if it doesn't feel like at times, even if it's, Dad, you drive me crazy, Dad, what are you talking about? Trust me, at the end of the day, they definitely want their dad's approval because at the end of the day, you're the best example for them, right? Like they want that. Like even with your flaws, of course, as married couple, you argue stuff like that, of course. But they're like, man, I know my dad loves my mom, and that's what I want. You know what I mean? And so that's a beautiful thing, bro, for sure. Um, I want to, I guess, ask you, because I know we was talking about with the school and stuff. How for you? How does that affect your schedule? Like in any way when they do go back to school? Like how are you able, I guess, to balance that? Because with them not being in school, right? Like you can maybe work and then come home, hang out with them, or hang out with your wife, right? Like it's a little bit easier to be to give everyone a little bit more of your time in a sense, right? So
Hmm.
like how do you, I guess, balance that, or how does that change your schedule, or maybe it doesn't, I don't know.
With them being in school,
Yeah, when they're in
when
school.
they go, I don't think anything really changes. Because I try to give them all my attention time as best as I can. You know, so I currently right now I just started a new job, which is I'm working nights, right? So the schedule is automatically different.
Yeah.
So adjusting to it is going to be very different.
Mm.
But I'm still gonna pick them up from school. I'm still gonna sit down.
Yeah.
We're still gonna talk. We're still gonna have dinner, and all of that's not really gonna change. Um, it's just when they're asleep, I'm working, and when they're at school, I'm asleep, type of thing.
Yeah.
But I've always I've always tried, um, no matter what I do or what I've done, that to give to make time for my kids.
Mm.
Um, Even if it's in the morning, and everyone's in a rush, but come on, guys, we gotta go. I love you. God bless you. Have a good day. Have a good day. Hey, make sure you carry Victor, hold it high. Don't let anything get the best of you. Turn the other cheek. Whatever it may be,
Yeah.
whatever they're going through as the school year is going along. Um, but I think the most important thing that I also try to do is that make time for my wife. And as much as we're talking about the kids though too, and as much as they see, like they'll see me and the wife, give a hug, and the kids like, yeah, oh my God, and like, and it's like you should be grateful that I'm loving on your mother, because God willing, you're gonna have the same thing in your own household, and your kids are gonna be acting the same way, but you know what? You're in a loving home.
Yeah.
So I don't think much really changes.
Mhm.
Obviously, far as not seeing them as much,
Yeah.
except but I'm at work and they're at school, or wife's at work. But when we come home, it's everything's unfolding.
Yeah.
Homework,
Yeah.
or I got this and I got that, and there's this project and there's that project. It's like, okay, well, let's all try to help and adapt to every situation. And then we kind of go from there.
Mhm.
But we're spending time together. I think
Yeah.
that's one thing I've always tried to hold myself high on, is that this is time that I have, and not a lot of us have time, and so
True.
time is very important. And so as long as I'm spending time with them, I hope I'm doing good, and I hope I'm doing better.
That's dope, man. So how did you, just hearing um just you speak on different things and just our conversation, like how did you get to this point? Because obviously, like you said, like for example, with daughters, which I know very well, like being
Yeah,
able to really hear their feelings and understand where they're coming from, and especially now this generation, right? Like they
yeah.
want to answer for everything, right? Like every single thing, right? Why can't you just do this? Why does it have to be right? But anyways, how did you, what got you to that point, man? We're again, we're not perfect, we're still growing, but what got you to that point to get mature and really grow from, from obviously, I'm sure from your first, second, third, fourth, all the way to six, right? To like to where you're at now. Like what helped shift that mindset?
ah, I think it goes back to the first question you asked me. What was my first thought about being a dad?
Mm-hmm.
When I learned about becoming a dad, it was I didn't want to be like mine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I grew up with a lot of trauma. Um, And I guess to be, transparent and a bit personal, is that I saw my mom go through a lot of relationships, um, mostly ones that were physically abusive,
Mm,
ones that were, I say, where she tried to physically harm herself and end her life. Um, and I spent majority of those times trying to protect my little brothers,
mm,
and covering them, and not letting them see things, or uh, me hitting on the guy that's hitting on my mom,
yeah.
and this is Thanksgiving Day, you know, and or like or being honest, I'll never
Yeah.
forget that one moment, and we pack up in the truck, and we're headed to my grandmother's house, and my mom looks at me and goes, "Don't tell your grandma what happened."
Mm,
And get inside that house, and my grandma just knew based off my expression. She knew. Um,
mm,
so I think witnessing everything that I saw growing up, the biggest thing that I realized what I didn't want to be was I didn't want to be an absent father.
mm,
To kind of even more elaborate was, you remember being a kid and getting asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up?
yeah.
Yeah, right. My answer was I want to be a dad.
Mm,
From a very young adolescent, of age, it was just I want to be a dad. And so now that I'm a husband, now that I'm a dad, what has kept me going is that I'm their dad. They're my responsibility. And I've always said I'm not going to be like, you know, how my absent father was, or how, the relationship that we did, a strange relationship that we had.
yeah.
Um, it was really that. It was just
Mm,
always pressing forward of that. I'm going to give him something I didn't even have. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And it's difficult too, because with my oldest, my three oldest are girls, and then my three youngest are boys. So as I'm going through it, I find that I'm healing, because the most thing I'm trying to do is protect the girls, right? And then I find myself with the boys is I'm healing at the same time.
Mm,
I'm
yeah.
healing because there's that little boy who has something with his boys, but I'm
Mm,
also realizing that, man, I wish I would have had this too. I don't
mm.
know if it makes
No, I
sense,
know
but
exactly what you mean. I know exactly what.
and my heart's is full, but
Yeah.
it's of joy, it's
Mm,
of happiness, it's of hugs and kisses, and as you mentioned earlier, when you come home from work, you see the kids running down the stairs, or they're running, da 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 da, and they run and they ambush you, and you're ambushed with love, and they're greeting you with joy, like I missed you. And I've always said, how could any father not want to come home to this? It's something that you literally have to turn away and say, I don't want that.
yeah.
And the responsibility starts at home, starts with the man, starts with the individual. How do you want to raise your kids? And they're my daughters are the first. I'm their first view of what they're gonna see in a man, and my sons, vice versa, the same way. How to be a man. So I have to teach my daughters, and I have to teach my sons. So I have to be willing to be taught though too. When I'm in the wrong, or I'm doing something, and my wife's like, "Don't do that." I'm okay. I have to remain teachable and have the humility to be corrected, because I can't do this. I know I can't do it by myself. I need correction. I need love. I need brotherhood. You know, I, that's what it is, man.
I love it, bro. And honestly, you said something what I'll be saying as well, as far as for our daughters, we're their first love, right? And then for
Yeah.
our sons, we're their first hero. Right. And so, you're all those things, man. And so, I always like to give their flowers. So one, I want to salute you because you're doing the work, bro. Like you're doing the work. You are a protector. You are someone that cares, that loves, that is doing the best they can for their family. You and your wife, of course. But I want to salute you just because it could be easy for you to turn the other way. It could be easy to be like, you know what, this is what I saw, so why not go to what I know, right?
Mm.
Instead, you're like, no, I'm gonna do the opposite. And so I just thank God for you and for Him, using you as an example, man. You have a testimony. You know what I mean? And so your testimony is not only going to impact your family, but it's going to be to help someone else. So I pray and hope that whoever listens, watch this, man, is able to impact them and know, like, man, okay, you know, Jacob's situation wasn't the best, but he was able to make the most of it, and now look at him, you know. And so um, it's just dope, bro. Just seeing the progression, just from the little bit that you shared, you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
so because I look at it like, dang, like, you know, not only, you know, not having that 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 father figure, that consistent father figure that you wanted, but then seeing what your mom went through, and then she's hurting, she's trying to heal, right? She
yeah,
has her own trauma, right? And
yeah,
so not realizing that trauma she's putting on you, you know what I mean? And you just take it on the chin like, oh man, it is what it is, but you're taking it all in. And so, you know, you said something that's very key to me is like, that little boy, you know, that the 10-year-old Jacob, right, is now seeing his sons is like, wow, seeing his daughters and like, wow. So the 10-year-old Jacob right now is like excited, right, and is
yeah,
happy, like, man, we like, look how far we came, like, look, like, man, we're doing it, man, like, no, like, keep it up, like, oh, we're nothing like that guy over there, like, we're you know what I mean. And so it's just a beautiful thing, bro. So I just wanted to salute you, you know, and everything that you're doing, man. Like I said, like, again, you know, I'm more so just seeing from social media, and I know everyone can paint certain pictures, but just our conversation matches what I see as well, right? And so, it's just a beautiful thing, man. Obviously, you know, we're not perfect. I know you're
nah,
not perfect, but
far
at the end
from
of the day,
it.
the fact that you can humble yourself and be like, I need to be better in this. That's that's half the battle right there, man. So that's a beautiful thing, bro, for real.
Yeah, I mean, it's a consistent challenge. It's a consistent pursuit. But it's not a race. It's a marathon. You know, it's a continuous thing. I'm pretty sure even further. You ever seen that Fresh Prince?
Oh yeah,
Will
that
Smith.
Into
Yeah,
Everyone's episode. Yeah,
yeah. You know,
that's so many
you know what?
pie. That's a whole other thing. But yes,
Yeah, that is that. You know, I've even today I've carried that. Why don't
yeah,
you want me? I never wanted my kids to ask themselves that. You know,
yeah,
why doesn't my dad want me? Why doesn't my dad want to be part of my life? Why doesn't, you know, whatever it may be. I always wanted my kids to know that I'm there. And no matter what you've done, I'm still there. You know, I have this saying, me and my wife have this saying with our kids, excuse me, and it's tell me the truth no matter what it is and I can help you. Lie to me, I can't. You know, and they're like,
mm,
what do you mean, Dad? Like, if you lie to me, how can I help you? If you tell
true.
me the truth, no matter what it is, I'm there because you came with me in honesty. But regardless of how hard it was to tell you for you to tell me how bad you think you messed up, because trust me, I messed up too. You
Mm,
know, but just tell me the truth so I can be there for you. And just tell me the truth so I can help you. Your mother can help you. So we
yeah,
can have that relationship of transparency. But when
mm,
you lie to me, you're acknowledging that something's wrong, but you want it to remain hidden and stay in the mess.
mm,
But deep down, you're reaching for help. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And so I've told them just like I think that's the biggest thing is we're trying to teach our kids is that don't hide the emotions. Like
yeah,
yes, be tough, like but not tough until where you emotionally neglect yourself.
yeah,
You know you mentally exhaust yourself because you feel like you have no one to be there for you or because you're so overwhelmed with whatever it may be. So those are things that we try to teach our kids just how to manage their emotions a little bit better. Because
yeah,
even as adults, sometimes we can't manage our own emotions. So it's a continuous process and a continuous journey. But
yeah.
we're all learning and we learn together.
Yeah, no, bro, that's real. I don't know if your camera disappeared on me, but oh,
Oh, I'm
okay,
sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
no worries. But I want to some. I guess it's just on my heart to say as well. This has nothing to do with what we just said right now, but you said something earlier that stood out to me, um, about your dad, about, you know, try to reach out or whatever the case is. It didn't work out, but just as far as, you know, knowing that you did everything you could, right, when it came to him, right? Because at the end of the day, you reached out, you gave him a chance, because there is times, there is plenty of fathers that really, got screwed over, right?
Hmm.
And they didn't get to tell their story, whatever. You gave him his chance to give him his story, bro. I don't know why this comes to my heart right now, but you gave him his chance, so you need to be okay with that, right? And close the door on that chapter and understand that you did your part, right? You did your part. And there's
Yeah.
only so much you can do. So again, I don't know where that came from, but that's just something that
No,
just came to my
I
heart right now.
I think it's perfect to the conversation. There's no coincidence with God, and we're breaking bread. We're breaking bread. We're fellowshipping, and we just, being two men being transparent. Sometimes I feel guilty that he's not really more involved. Not the sake for me, but for my kids.
Yeah.
Um, and to elaborate even more on that is I remember one time I was so angry with him, and we were sitting in the truck, and I was just kind of like I was mad, but I was crying at the same time. I was like I think 20. I was like I ain't never gonna be like you. I just I never gonna do. I never just um. And he just said good. I hope not. And
Mm,
that pissed me off more
mm,
because he knew who he was.
yeah.
And I don't say that to down him. I
Yeah.
don't trust me. I don't say that
Yeah.
to say that he's a deadbeat dad or none of that. It's just I think deep down he knew who he was,
Yeah.
and he dealt with it the way he dealt with it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the things that me personally, what I dealt with was that I would wait on the porch to be picked up, and he wouldn't show up,
Mm,
or when he would pick me up and take me to eat, and he'd get a call from his girlfriend and tell me to be quiet so they didn't hear me.
mm,
I always felt hidden. I always
yeah.
felt like I wasn't enough. And so what you're saying right now, there's a part of me that's I like I have his number saved. I know I can just call him, but I've kind of just I've moved on. I don't have time to. I don't have a lot of time now to try to fix that relationship or whatever needs fixing, or if it's just let's ignore the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Because I know me is like I wanna ask you the questions,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you can handle it, or I don't know if
Yeah.
you want to talk about it. But that's
Yeah.
again just me being assuming all that, right? But I know still there's an elephant in the room.
Yeah.
There's things that I want to address because of how I feel, but it goes back to when I'm with my boys, because they're so little.
Yeah.
It's that little boy healing. That little boy. It's just like it's full. Um,
Yeah.
and I just, it's kind of like I'm glad that you said what you said because at times I think I've done the wrong thing, but I'm
Yeah.
just trying to take care of my family.
Yeah. No, that's key, bro. You're the foundation. So, at the end of the day, like I said, man, like for a reason, you've done your part. Now, if it's something where you just have to get it off, okay, you could do that, but at the same time, don't expect the answer, right?
Yeah,
Which is hard to do,
yeah,
right? So it's like one of those things. Hey, it's like you talk to you. Let's say I'm upset and I just call you, bro. I don't want you to say nothing. I just need to vent, right? It's one of those, and being okay that I don't get no reply. Just more, man. I'm sorry to hear that, right? So if
mm,
you if it's one of those things where it's a burning desire, like you have to get it off. But if not, you gotta let it go. You've been passing. If you watch basketball, you've been passing him the rock over and over again, bro, and he keeps turning it over. At the end of the day, you got to win the game. Now you just got to shoot. Now you
yeah,
got a whole team. That's your family. You got a whole team trying to win, bro. You're trying to win a championship right now. You can't keep passing it right now. Why you keep passing the ball? He keeps turning the ball. He don't even look like he wants to be part of the team,
mm,
right?
I
So
like
at the
that.
end of the day, you're hurting. Your squad is losing because of that. You was winning before you even involved him. Keep him on the bench if that's where he wants to be, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's I don't know why that gets came from where it came from, um, but again, bro, no, I definitely appreciate you, man, so much. Like I said, like I don't take anyone's time lightly, at all, bro. So thank you once again, bro.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm glad that you invited me. I know we've tried, for a while to get something together. The fact that you remain consistent, I always appreciate that. And you always just reaching out, just ask how I'm doing. That's always gone an extra mile. In the small conversations we've had. And I'm glad and happy for you, what you're doing and increasing and in the values of what you're doing, because I can see this is something that you're very good at and passionate about. And it brings a lot of awareness, I guess, for men to be able to come together and just talk and break bread, and have healthy discussions even when they're difficult.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's really that's awesome of you to keep doing, bro. It really is.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Now with that being said, guys, as you guys know, right? Like always, you don't have to be perfect, but you always have to be present. I'll see you guys on the next one.